Thank you for tuning in to Coffee and RPGs. My name is Solomon SK, and we got some amazing RPG news for you guys, including a sort of a roadmap for Final Fantasy XIV, including a graphical overhaul, Elden Ring's release date for various parts of the world, Fallout 76 is getting an alien update, Block Desert Online is celebrating its 6th anniversary, and Wagadu Chronicles is heading to its first alpha tests. And if you could do me a favor and hit the subscribe button down below, as well as the bell notification icon right next to it to keep up to date to everything that is RPGs, including MMOs, survival, JRPGs, online, and the like. With that being said, if you guys got your coffee ready or beverage of choice, let's go ahead and cover these articles together. Cheers to you guys. And as always, I'll have a 60-second version of today's video in the form of a card over at the right-hand corner. And anyways, let's just go ahead and jump into it, starting off with some non-RPG news. And I just wanted to cover this really quick because this is an IP that I grew up with from the 80s. And it says here that Capcom basically came out with the announcement of Street Fighter 6. But yeah, this is supposed to be coming out sometime during the summer of this year of 2022. We actually don't have a whole lot of information other than that, but I got the trailer playing down below me, but you could actually check out the full trailer yourself. Links to this will be down in the pinned comment section below, as always. Now, still probably one of the biggest news so far in 2022 is Microsoft's acquisition of Activision-Blizzard, but apparently Microsoft wasn't the only company trying to buy them. And it says here towards the bottom of this article from MassivelyOP.com that SEC filing discloses that Microsoft was one of only 5 companies vying to buy Activision-Blizzard. But unfortunately, we actually don't know what the other 4 are. We could only speculate. I would probably even argue maybe even Amazon would be in that. Again, don't really know for sure, but I can't think of any other company that actually has that much billions of cash on hand to be able to buy a big company like that. But it also goes on to say that one of them was just angling to buy Blizzard and not the rest of Activision as well. I thought that was kind of funny. Now, some of these titles will be cut off on the right there, so I do apologize, but we got an article here from altchar.com, and it says that Dragon Age 4 development is progressing well, possible release date in 2023. So there's a person by the name of Jeff Grubb, and apparently he's a reliable insider of sorts, states that the game is in good shape and it's hitting all their internal milestones and whatnot, but definitely take into consideration that these are still rumors at the end of the day, so take this with a grain of salt. Next, we head on over to MMORPG.com, and we got to talk about none other than Lost Ark. And it says here that as West, or Europe West, begins populating, Lost Ark will start giving bonuses today. And I actually did receive my bonus about a few days ago. I did pre-order the Platinum Edition of the pre-order game, and unfortunately, if you open it in the server that you're on right now, it stays in that server. So if you were to transfer out, those bonuses wouldn't follow you, but unfortunately, or fortunately in this case, they are giving you another one. So then that way, if you want to go ahead and head on over to a less populated server, you're able to do that. But unfortunately, you won't be able to get 2 at the same time, which I admit I enjoy having. It's a rough start, especially over at Europe, unfortunately. And if you go over to the comment section, yeah, a lot of people are still very agitated. I won't go over some of the rage that's been going on, but this is pretty much the story of all MMOs, it seems like. And truth be told, I think Lost Ark isn't as bad compared to some of the other MMOs that we had in the past, but I don't know. Again, let me know down in the comment section below what you think about the release of Lost Ark, and if it's as bad as some of the other previous titles that we had. Next, we got Final Fantasy XIV in the news, and when I read this article, it seemed more like a roadmap almost. And it says here that Final Fantasy XIV will get a massive graphics overhaul as Yoshida outlines updates up to 7.0. Now, this next graphical overhaul will begin with the next expansion, and so clearly if Yoshida says that they are working on the game for the next 10 years, you know you're gonna get some pretty awesome stuff. There's also a free trial that was suspended after the massive queues and instability issues that Endwalker brought from its release, but that's also coming back tomorrow, which is fortunate. And when I mean tomorrow, I mean February 22nd. And also they are introducing something called a trust system, and that's going to be implemented in update 6.1. And what this basically does, it lets players take on dungeons with a group of NPCs, allowing solo players to still enjoy dungeon content. And when I read that, it reminded me of actually the first Guild Wars game, where you're able to take NPCs and later on they allowed you to customize those NPCs and give them specific skills that they could only use and help you explore the continent. And so I don't know if they're gonna allow you to do that, because there are NPCs within Guild Wars where you're not able to change the skills at all. It was just the same for everybody. But at the end of the day, I think this is a move in the right direction, considering Final Fantasy XIV is already known to be a solo player friendly game in the first place, much like Star Wars: The Old Republic, maybe more or less. But anyways, it does go on to say that there are different series, like 6.2 series update 6.3, and that will continue to extend the main scenario, dungeon systems, and more. And so yeah, lots of good things, and I know I'm going to cover this game a lot in 2022. So again, definitely hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already, to keep up to date with the latest Final Fantasy XIV trends and news and updates. So Skull and Bones is in the news, kind of, sort of, just a little bit here, and this is from a financial call that Ubisoft did, and the game is still in development, and apparently it's going quote unquote well. We'll see, hopefully. And it has the potential to be released in this fiscal year. So at the very latest, maybe early 2023, if I'm interpreting that correctly. And another game besides Lost Ark that everybody seems to be so excited about is Elden Ring. And just a reminder, yes, this is the game that has some part with George R.R. Martin of Game of Thrones. And yeah, they have a list here showing you the release date of the various parts of the world, if you just want to go ahead and just jump right into it as soon as possible. So if you live in the Pacific, California area, West Coast here, it's going to be released at 3 p.m. Pacific time. That means it's 6 p.m. Eastern time. Central Europe, that means February 25th at 12 a.m. Now, when I read this article, I was kind of caught off guard, because this is a Conan game, but it's like this family-friendly, bubbly, cartoony Conan, and that just they just did a complete 180, you know, because when you think of Conan, you think of like some very brutal, violent, barbarian, just, well, anyways, it says here that multiplayer roguelite Conan Chop Chop, yes, that's the name of the game, Conan Chop Chop, launches PC demo ahead of its March 1st release. Honestly, I'm not exactly sure how to feel about this. I mean, I think the demo is definitely worth a try. I mean, you don't really lose anything, but anyways, moving on. So as I stated last episode, Bethesda was working on a 2022 roadmap for Fallout 76, and they finally released it, giving us some details. And it says here that Fallout 76 will be invaded by aliens this spring, and this is going to come in the form of the Invaders From Beyond update. And it's coming again this spring with public events and random encounters in which you'll do battle against the extraterrestrial threat of Appalachia. This is also going to kick off Season 8 for Fallout 76. And in the summer, we will see, in addition to more public events, including arena fights against mechanical menaces, and another season to kick off for the summer as well. Now, the fall update is probably one of the bigger ones after the Aliens update, and in this one, it will feature additional expeditions, the Pit, a trip to the ruined city of Pittsburgh, which will include new missions, NPCs, enemies, and rewards. The Pit itself, and this is really cool, isn't exactly a new location, because the Pit was originally released in 2009 as a Fallout 3 DLC, if you remember that one. And then lastly, in the winter, it is time for the promised fizziest show on Earth, a traveling roadshow called Nuka World on Tour, with, again, new public events and new region boss as well. And so you can see a little picture here of what's in store for the current year of 2022. And as far as I can tell, they made a lot of really good improvements, and maybe some of that will help negate the really not so great release that is Fallout 76. And here's an MMORPG that I don't talk about nearly as much, probably because it's a fairly older MMORPG, but it says here that Dungeons and Dragons Online announces new producer and a packed 2022 roadmap. Now, players can expect a sweet or extra sweet 16th anniversary giveaway with lots of free race and class unlocks, as well as improved Snow Peak festivals in update 53, excuse me. Man, this game came out 16 years ago. That's pretty crazy. Not many MMOs could say that these days. The second quarter also includes this year's Dino-tastic expansion called the Isle of Dread. Next, we got some articles from MMO Culture, and yeah, it's my favorite mobile games. Yeah. But anyways, I thought this was worth covering at least. And it says here that there's a game called Stella Fantasy, which is a new anime-style blockchain RPG for the PC and mobile platform. And obviously, when you see PC and mobile, or maybe not so obvious, I think of Genshin Impact. But if you look at the preview that I have playing down below, it really looks like Genshin Impact. But this is a blockchain RPG because everybody's into blockchaining these days. Anyways, so one of the things, or the terminology or phrase that I know I'm going to repeat a lot in 2022 is the term play to earn, which sounds fantastic because you get to play a game and then you get to earn money through playing a game, and it kills two birds with one stone. Yeah, it's so amazing. When reality is, I mean, if you really think you're going to get rich off of playing a game, I have some bad news for you. It's not going to happen. To kind of digress just a little bit, I'm not completely against cryptocurrencies and NFTs. Matter of fact, I actually mine Ethereum on my computer using my RTX graphics card. And maybe blockchaining titles with pay-to-earn features and gameplay is the future. But as it sits right now, there's just so many scams and so many influencers telling their fans to buy this particular crypto and then sell all their shares once the price inflates and stuff like that. It's just really terrible stuff going on too. I guess you got to take the good within the bad, but you know, my bias is just looking at a lot of bad stuff. But anyways, now this game will be released in June of 2022 with Planetarium as its publisher, which also hosts another blockchain title called Nine Chronicles. And yeah, yay. Since we're talking about NFTs and blockchaining and all that stuff, I might as well cover this too, just because it is unusual in a sense that I never heard of a game like this. And it says that there's a game called Siege Royale, which is Neowiz's Unreal Engine 5 blockchain battle royale game. Yes, now we have blockchaining battle royale games. And as I mentioned before, yes, it's a blockchain, NFT, and pay-to-earn driven game. It will take place in a medieval background fantasy with a kind of bubbly, cartoony aesthetic and feel to the game by looking at the trailer that I have playing down below me. And yeah, it will use the Unreal Engine 5, which I think is pretty cool. But to see whether or not this game will be successful, I mean, I don't wish it to fail, but again, we'll see where that goes. Heading back over to massivelyoP.com, it says here that Black Desert PC versions of the game preps a month-long 6-year anniversary, and Black Desert console brings back the Red Battlefield. So some of the things do include an extra Garmoth and Vel spawns, which is always nice, but honestly, your chances of getting the hearts goes from 0% to 0%. Let's be real, right? $200 worth of free login goodies, special gifts, extra rewards for guilds that log in, and additional man, that's still a name I don't know how to pronounce. Ataraxian drops. I think that's how you say it. But anyways, if you're into their live streaming as well, they do the Calpheon Ball, which is always really cool. They have a special live stream on March 5th. I'm not saying this is a Calpheon Ball stream. I'm just saying they're doing a live stream on that day, probably giving out some really cool goodies in the form of codes that you could input. They also have this little graphic here showcasing what you could expect from the various days within the month. And so yeah, I definitely been enjoying this game. I'm playing Black Desert Online and Lost Ark at the same time, 2 MMOs. They're very hard to juggle, but man, they're really good games. In my opinion, probably the most hardest MMO out there in the market. It says here that EVE Online adds content to the NPE, or new player experience, to teach mining skills and lets players earn some money. And I think this is welcome news. I think EVE can definitely use an increase in population, but the barrier to entry can be so high because, again, the learning curve is just so ridiculous. But something like this could definitely help. And is it enough for me to want to play this game? Probably not. I'd either have to stop playing some of my MMOs that I play right now, but I'm so glad they're doing this at the end of the day. And in the last episode, I did cover Palia, and they are starting their alpha test for this game. And if you remember, this is supposed to be the self-described MMO that is family-friendly, cozy, heartwarming, welcoming, because they're trying to go for that Animal Crossing and Stardew Valley feel, not necessarily look, but feel And anyways, it will be free to play, which is always nice with buyable cosmetic items. All right, so we'll get some really quick updates and announcements out of the way here. And it says that MapleStory will get the 64-bit clients coming in March, ending support for older systems. And so if you're still running Windows 7, which I don't know anyone who still uses that, or something similar, unfortunately, you won't be able to play games like MapleStory. But I would imagine that you probably can't play a lot of games in the first place. And for everybody playing Wild Terra 2, they are improving animations to the game, which is always nice. I always like immersion. And they also are adding key binding options to the game as well. And of course, we got none other than Star Citizen, the game that everybody loves to hate or loves to love. But they're finally doing another free fly event, the first one for 2022, and this is going to last from February 17th through February 25th. I wanted to include this particular article in the news as well, not so much because of what it actually covers, but because of the fact that this is an MMORPG that I actually never heard of, and if I did, I completely forgot about it. And it says that Bitcraft explains its philosophy of skills and progression in a new development diary, and I got the trailer playing down below me, and this is a procedurally generated MMORPG, and so you're probably going to get a lot of people who enjoy Minecraft that might enjoy something like this as well, but definitely more detailed. Next, the Wagadu Chronicle previews what you'll experience in its first alpha tests. And if you haven't heard of this MMORPG, this is the one where it's focusing on the African aesthetics, African culture, African mythology. It's going to be very Africa centric. And yeah, if you want to apply for their alpha test, you could do so by clicking on their link here over in their Twitter page that they have up. And yeah, as always, I'll have a link to this down in the pinned comment section below if you want to go ahead and check it out. Next, we got Elion in the news, and unfortunately, they don't seem to be doing incredibly well right now. But fortunately, they did complete their server merges. They also added and overhauled the open world content, as well as adding a new gear enhancement system as well. And to be completely honest with you, I actually do still want to play this game, but I just have way too many irons in the fire right now, and by the time I want to play it again and when I get to it, I feel like the game is probably already going to shut down. Just going to be completely real. I hope they don't, but yeah, it's not looking pretty. Matter of fact, I think their highest population concurrent player base on Steam database, it says like they peaked at around 600 or 700 players, which isn't that great for an MMO. Next, we got Final Fantasy XI in the news, and I think this is really cool that they still add content to this game despite the fact that Final Fantasy XIV is out. And it says here that Final Fantasy XI kicks off its annual Doll Festival on February 25th, and so if you still play the old school Final Fantasy XI, you can check that out as well. And that concludes today's episode of RPG News and Updates. I really do appreciate it if you made it with me so far, because the YouTube algorithms really seem to favor the watch time hours more so than anything else, in my opinion. But yeah, we got some amazing things going on right now. Still enjoying my time in the Lost Ark, still playing Black Desert Online. We got Elden Ring coming out in less than a week, and yeah, just a lot of amazing things going on in the month of February. And yeah, 2022 seems to be a really good year for general gaming, and especially RPGs as well. But anyways, I'll stop talking. I'll finally let you guys go. Hope you guys have a blessed night, and I will see you guys next time. Cheers again, everyone.